So recently on Instagram, I posted this. Bling! And this was just inspired by some stuff that I saw online based on other people's interpretations of confidence, and that's fine. I respect other people's processes. You've got your processes of how you perceive confidence and confidence to be. But there's a lot of stuff in the personal development industry that I think is I say this very politely, absolute bullshit. And that is because a lot of the stuff in the personal development industry, if you're working on yourself, and often you can read books, it's about getting somewhere. I'm unconfident now. I want to get to a place that's more confident. I feel shit now. I want to get to a place that's less shit. I want to get to a place that feels good. What's interesting about this perspective is it actually inspires lack within us. It is suggesting that we deep down inside of us are already lacking in some way. That I am not confident, and therefore I must become confident. That I am unskilled in this, and therefore I must become skilled. Now, truth be told, with some areas of life, that's true. I'm not necessarily a photographer, but if I would like to become a photographer, I must become skilled in becoming a photographer. I, at one point, was terrible at making websites, and thus I had to learn how to make a website. Now, here's the interesting thing. Say, for example, with developing websites. Am I enough to make a website? Well, in some cases, yes, and in some cases, no. Am I enough to build a website? Well, yes. I'm enough to learn. I'm enough to figure this out. I'm enough to grow as a person to develop those skills. But am I enough to develop the website I wanted? Well, in some cases, no, because I might want to develop something that I don't necessarily have the skills for, and that's okay. But when it comes to personal development, what ends up happening is there's a clarification that I feel like a lot of people miss. And that is that sometimes you have to develop a skill. That's true. Develop a skill with fashion. Develop a skill with looking cool about yourself. Develop a skill with sewing, for example. But there's a lot of things in our life that we have been practicing already that I believe deep fucking down to the point of testament that I've literally dedicated my life to this. That it's not necessarily a skill set per se, but it's actually a revealing. This is why I purposely and intentionally and out of this worldly focus on emotional healing. Because what we actually have to do with a lot of areas of our life is reveal the layers, shave away the false sense of self that we've developed. This is why, the phrase, fake it till you make it. Well, why not discover how you're already it? That's one of my biggest rules is figure out how you're already doing it. So how does this all relate to confidence? Well, if you haven't already checked it out, maybe in the description, somewhere on my website, you can get for free 5 steps to Unbreakable Confidence. That's like, it's going to be a longer video or a longer audio about this idea. And you can get that for free. Oh boy, for free. Ooh, website placement. But what ends up happening when it comes to confidence is that I like to think of us human beings as almost like a helium balloon. You know what happens when you let go of a helium balloon? It goes up. Now, is that good for the environment? No, that's a topic for someone else's video, not necessarily mine. But as a metaphor, it works. So what stops the balloon from going up and up and up and up and up and up? Well, some people might say other people. Some people might say ourselves. Truth be told, there's a lot of things. But it's these evolved layers that we have developed as people, these false senses of who we are, these things that people told us when we were younger that actually hold the balloon down. Another way of thinking it is like a hot air balloon. Similar metaphor, but a hot air balloon has a lot of sandbags. As we drop these sandbags, these things, these ideas, these beliefs, these feelings, and I'll talk about like examples of those in a second. The hot air balloon is capable of rising. And also the hot air balloon is capable of coming down by letting some of its own hot air out. So these beliefs that we talk about, these feelings, these are things like, I am not enough. These are feelings like, oh, I have to try hard. I've talked a lot about the pipe. This is a pipe. In our life, there is a pipe, right? Of the things where we want to go and where we want to be. And there are things and beliefs and ideas that block that flow. So confidence, I would say, is a flowing emotion. I've talked about making another video in the future about the difference between flowing and stationary emotions. It's really important as a clarification to understand, especially when it comes to your own healing journey, especially when it comes to your fucking life. But the thing that I really want to get across here, and this is all building up to one amazing point, which I really hope you stick around for, is just this idea that lack of confidence itself is a symptom. And we don't, how do I put this into words? Lack of confidence is something to not necessarily worry about. The letting go of those sandbags, the healing, the letting go of those beliefs and the feelings that we have that actually hold us down should be the focus. And it always should be the focus. For example, even in myself with business, all I ever do, I don't try hard anymore. I've like, fuck trying hard. Trying hard is for people with a lot of blockages and people with a lot of willpower. I don't necessarily have that. What we got to do is focus on those blockages. Heal the blockages, and the way to heal it is to surrender to the feeling underneath. Eventually, the blockage just disappears. For example, the feeling, let's say, for example, social skills, right? Social skills, you might have a feeling like, oh, I'm not confident enough to say hello. Or what does it feel like to not have enough confidence? Can you surrender to that feeling? Because eventually the cycle passes, and once it passes, that cornerstone of that feeling, or the belief dictated by feelings, if the cornerstone is gone, the belief itself has nothing to stand on. So therefore, what ends up happening is if there is no belief, or there is no feeling that you are not enough, and there is, as consequence, the belief is disabled, that, oh, I'm shy, I lack confidence, which might be true from a particular perspective. Remember that, it's always from a particular perspective. It might be true from that particular perspective. From your new expanded perspective, when being shy suddenly no longer has that emotional impact, all that is left is you and that social situation. And what I find with most people, action comes easy. In fact, we end up doing it without even realizing. Action comes easy because we in some way have already started it. That's the thing that I'm talking about. You know, this idea like, what's the best way to start something? Realize where you've already started. Well, that's a healed perspective. It's a healed perspective where people are like, oh, but I'm not working out enough. I've got to work out. It's like, well, where have you already started? You're walking, you get out of bed, that's exercise. Truth be told, if you don't do that, you'll waste away. Just like not working out a lot might waste away your body. So confidence itself is the side effect. It's the side effect of flowing. Now, what ends up happening is people latch onto this, and this is tongue-in-cheek. This is my healing journey of like really just learning to say the fucking hard stuff. Like I'm getting over my fears of saying what I perceive to be the truth. But what ends up happening is people fucking get, and here my punchiness here, because now I literally let go of something and I healed something as I'm talking about. People get attached to a fucking egoic version of confidence. They're like, oh, look at me, I'm confident in this situation. Look at me. It's a look at me emotion. And that itself is another blockage, because we end up creating for ourselves a fake glass ceiling of like, I am confident. And I talk about this from experience, from my own experience. I used to be this person. I remember I was like, oh, look at me, I'm working in a cafe. Barista Sharam. By the way, I haven't drunk coffee in like fucking 5 years. But Barista Sharam, more than 5 years ago, I perceived myself as I was the confident one. Look at me, I'm the social one, I do the social things, me. Then I met someone who had a healed perspective towards being social, and he fucking blew me out of the water to the point that my sense of self expired. Like no other way of saying it. My sense of self died because who I was the confident one, and suddenly my sense of self was no longer there, because it was like, oh, this person's more confident than me, more social than me, so who am I? And that's what ends up happening. We have this fake sense of self, this fake fucking sense of self, because it's a constructed sense of self based to protect us, and a constructed sense of self to have an essential glass ceiling. Because it's like, if we feel good, we almost hold on to it. And when we hold on to it, we don't let ourselves go down, but we simultaneously don't let ourselves go up. So you might see advice, practice this mantra or do this thing. And that's fine. These things are great if they help you shave away layers or if they help you heal a wounded aspect of yourself. The whole point of healing is that it assumes that deep down you are enough as a person, that you are beautiful and wonderful and capable of knowing or capable of learning every possible thing that you would like. And here's the clincher. You will become confident with your lack of confidence, because the lack of confidence no longer has the emotional stabbing that it would, and also you'll become so fucking at peace with whatever happens that every possible bullshit situation that comes into your life becomes it propels you forward, another example of growth. That's the point of emotional surrender. That's the point of healing. We have systemized human expansion, where all you essentially do, if you are to practice this on your own, rather than hiring me or doing whatever you need, if you are to practice this on your own, surrendering to the feeling that is what is going on right now, no matter how fucking dark, and that's the scary bit, because some people are like, oh, I'm just going to lie in bed all day and be depressed. I did that for years, only to realize that fear of lying in bed all day is something to be processed. But it's like, imagine if every time you felt insecure, weak, wounded, fucking anything you might perceive as negative, you can heal and essentially elevate that consciousness. You as a person, just like Dogecoin, apparently, go to the moon. So this whole thing is super interesting, because the whole idea of healing is that you are innately enough, and that these false sense of layers, these false sense of self that we have developed over time are essentially glasses that fog our vision. So it's like you, for example, you might be like, oh, but I feel like I'm not enough, right? That's something I'm processing myself, my inner sense of not enoughness. And I say that because someone commented in another video, like, that's a good term. And I'm like, give me more comments, because I like it. I like when you guys comment something nice. I'm always showing my girlfriend, like, look at this nice one. But here's the truth. When you are suffering from a wounded layer, a false sense of self, what ends up happening is you essentially have these glasses on. So it's like, put red glasses on, everything seems red. Put blue glasses on, everything seems blue. And we become incapable of not only seeing how great we are, but incapable of not seeing how things are an example of that. Because if you've got red glasses on, you're like, oh yes, everything's red. And if red is an example of why you are not enough, you will literally start to see it everywhere. And it will hurt you and wound you and stab you every single fucking time until you take those glasses off. And how you take those glasses off is by healing, is by surrendering. My process that I teach, surrender. What ends up happening is that we develop all these techniques and strategies and stuff to sort of help us get somewhere. And that's okay. That's fine. But if it's built on a broken core, what ends up happening is that eventually we're going to have to deal with that. And these false senses of self, what I find with most people is they collapse. They collapse to a point where they have to, how do I put this into words? They have this life that they have built up, and then they have to deal with that bottom part. For example, a really good example is people who get married because they think they should. What ends up happening is that they end up having to go back. They have to go back and deal with that past self. And usually that's because life then forces them to surrender. That's why all these other things are great. Like anything can be healing, because it forces you to surrender. It forces you to feel your stuff, for the cycle to complete itself, and then and only then are you then set fucking free. And from your new expanded awareness, you then have the perspective to have the realization that maybe it wasn't you, but you were just reacting to this stuck feeling. Oh my God, there's so much to share on this, so fucking much. Like, this is why you got to subscribe. But anyway, look, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, because it shows me that you liked it, and I like getting likes. Now, the other thing is, if the video made you think of anything, please, like, comment that. I love the comments that you guys give me. I am now open and capable of receiving love. Like, you know, I said I took like 4 months off. Before that, anytime someone commented, it really pissed me off. It was like, you don't know, I know. It's like, they're just like, I love your videos. I'm like, fuck you. Like, it was, my little ego boy was going nuts. So it's this healing process is the most important process, because as a result, the most of our life ends up working for us, not against us. And we have to, and then we stop willpowering. I do have a free audio coaching program on my website. If you haven't logged in, there should be a little thing at the top that says start here. At the bottom of the start here page, there'll be a thing where you can put your email in. You'll be part of my email list. I've currently paused my email list because it was too expensive and I wasn't really using it. So I haven't really been sending out any emails, but it'll put you on that list regardless of if I am using it or not. And you'll get that audio thing, the audio coaching that's talking about confidence. It's talking about, it like introduces these concepts to you in a nicer way, as opposed to me on YouTube where I'm like, fuck you, heal yourself, go fuck yourself. So it's like, the healing process is so important. Put it in your ears, learn it as a deep down sense of self, and you will learn from your new expanded awareness how just shitty you've been treating yourself and how nice you should be. So I'll talk to you soon. Mwah.